Yo, what's good, guys? It's your boy Limited Talks here, and today we'll talk about some anime. Now, roughly, let's talk about the Demon Slayer manga. Now, if you don't know, there's been a couple reports going around that Demon Slayer pretty much outsold the whole entire U.S. comic book industry in 2020. Now, roughly, I believe that Demon Slayer sold about 82 million copies. Now, that's a ton just for manga itself. Like, 82 million copies is a crap ton. I mean, hey, listen, good shout out to Demon Slayer, shout out to the person who made the manga. Hey, listen, she put some money, she got some money in the bag now. She got something in the bag. I mean, but like, what's so interesting about Demon Slayer is the fact of like how well it succeeded. Because over here in the West, it succeeded really well. Over in Japan, same thing as well. Because I'm gonna take a look and look at something like a main difference between the manga and the comic book industry. The manga does well, the anime does well. It's a direct correlation. If the anime does well, then the manga sells. After the success of season one of Demon Slayer and the movie came out, yeah, a lot of people went out parts like, okay, I'm gonna go buy the manga now. I want to see where the story goes, and that's how it leads. Versus over here in the United States, where our comic book industry is, the movies and the comic books do not correlate at all. Yes, you can get inspiration from the comic books, but you don't have to completely follow the comic books. You can follow the basic origin story, but you don't have to follow the comic books step by step. Because let's be 100% honest, comic books do not help the movie industry. Comic books do not help it at all. Like, there's not been like straight correlations between the manga industry, the comic book industry to the movie industry. Like the MCU, even Kevin came out and even said himself that like we don't read these comic books anymore. We don't need them. So comic books become kind of useless. They kind of become more collectibles. And a lot of people kind of say like, oh, well, look at the numbers. But again, like the numbers don't really correlate well for the comic book industry, because it's like most of the time you look at the top selling ones, it's like Thor, Captain America, I don't know, it's like Thor, Spider-Man, I think Superman and Batman sometimes. Like, it's one of it. But sometimes you always see a number one, usually in the top 5 and the top 10, because you know why? You need a number one to always kind of boost up those sales, because guess what? Those things get sold to the comic book, to the shops, and then people buy those because again they're number ones. You want to buy number one, and it's kind of also confusing as well to like know which book goes to what. Because again, there's so many number ones. There's so many new series that are coming out, like the new like X-Men crossover. Like that has to fall between like 7 or 8 different storylines or whatever. I don't know how many it was, but I know there's like a ton of storylines you gotta follow. Like, this one falls in this storyline, but you gotta read this book to go to this book. Then that book goes to that book. But with manga, it's like, okay, everyone wants to have a One Piece, which God forbid if I ever do. You start with manga, the chapter, volume 1. That's where you start at. That's it. That's how your story starts. With comic books, they reboot, they redo this, they reboot, they recycle. They always have to do something to always be sure that there's something new. But something new doesn't mean it's good. But anyway, let's go this on the comicbook.com. Plus, we're also gonna be got Anime News Network to talk about this specific topic of, did Demon Slayer really outsell the entire comic book industry? Now, there is no denying the popularity of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. The franchise has broken almost every record there is when it comes to sales, whether it be manga, anime, or film. The hit series remains at the unprecedented success. So you can see why industry leaders have been comparing sales of manga to northern comic books. But another question is being asked whether Demon Slayer really outsold the entire comic book industry last year. Because also, I will say this as well. Remember, My Hero Academia blew up over here in the West. Because you know why? It was a better story than all the comic book industries we had over here in North America. You might say, like, well, why is that the case? Because Hirokoshi, the author of My Hero Academia, he knows how to, he probably read some really good comic books, and he's like, I'm going to write that type of version for the story, not the new ones. The new way, the old way is better than the new way that we're doing now. because again, the problem with new comic books nowadays, yes, you can include inclusion, you can do diversity, you can do whatever you want, because again, that's how the way the world is. The world is nowadays. But the problem is they try to jam it down your throat, saying you have to like it this way, or else you're sexist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic. I think that's what it is, right? That's the issue that you have, is like you can't hate these characters, but these characters aren't good. These are really poorly written characters. I'm sorry, they are. And there's that question. Well, it's not clear at the moment if sales trends in the United States remain untouched in 2020. The truth would lead fans to a tie, but there's a slight issue to the pandemic of considerers. So the issue with this is we don't really know the true sell of 2020, because they can always hide the numbers. They're gonna say, oh yeah, we sold a ton of issues, because again, you gotta think about physical copies, digital copies, like different types of weird things. They can always do that. But digital copies have always been like the main thing that a lot of people can kind of look back and say, like, okay, we don't really know those numbers. Nobody knows the true number of digital copies, like, ever. So that's the reason why I think it's so hard for people to kind of say, like, maybe they. I think it did. I think honestly it probably did, but maybe. I'm not saying that it did. I'm also saying the fact that yes, it probably did, based on how successful Demon Slayer has been across the world. I'm just saying that right now. No doubt, 2021 magic bust in industries globally and by the pandemic. There was no different from manga comic books, but production delays with the former was solved rather quickly. According to financial reports and various sales charts, manga exploded in popularity in 2020 with major gains year over year, despite the pandemic. In Japan, the boost was all thanks to Demon Slayer, but those same stats aren't as clear as in the United States. So now, again, manga will boost in popularity. I think his thing. I know a lot of people kind of say it could be any series, like One Piece is one, it blew up, like Naruto blew up, Bleach blew up, but again, like the new generation is My Hero Academia was the first series to really, I think, what was the first series that really ever did blow up? I know the first series I really got more into anime was My Hero Academia was the first series that really blew up. Like really blew up over here in the West. Now again, this is my first anime and manga that I've ever seen like really pursue blew up like the way that it did. Then it came in Black Clover, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Tokyo Revengers. These series are gonna be more popular than anything we have ever seen over here in the West. So that's an indication that a lot of people are saying, listen, I like manga a lot more than what we have over here. And I think that will be true for years to come. I mean, manga's not slowing down at all. Like it's gonna keep on going. Like Kaiju number 8 is gonna be popping up now. Chainsaw Man is getting his own anime. So you have to understand, like these series are gonna be more and more popular because guess what? They're better winning characters. That's how the reason why. According to Comic-Con, the site has yet to pull together sales into for 2020 when it comes to comic sales. The issue comes down to the rip between Diamond as a distributor was once the only vendor for realtors to order comics from. The pandemic prompted several major publishers like Marvel and DC to begin distributing of their own when Diamond had to shut down operations temporarily in light of COVID-19. All this data reporting is massively inconsistent for 2020, but we do have trends to look at. So we can go look at these numbers. Number 83 million after dropping 1.2 or year over year. 18 million comics sold. Blah blah blah. Okay, blah blah blah. You know, it's whatever about that. I mean, it probably did. But again, we're going into Anime News Network to look at this. I'm Outsold, a medium rated, also sourced by Nerdbot. It's compelling and attention-grabbing claim to be sure. Now, however, a close examination of the article's sources and arguments indicate a lack of research and rigor. So again, we don't really know a lot. Like, we don't know how many comic books actually sold over here in the United States, because again, it's skewed. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of evidence to go back off of. I mean, how much evidence do we have of saying like, yeah, this is for sure how many comic books sold? We know how many manga get sold because they tell us. They tell us this is how many get sold. But we don't know how many comic books get sold because it's always misconstrued with numbers. You know, people can lie about these numbers, say like, oh, this numbers or whatever. So it states that Demon Slayer has sold 100 million copies, while American comic books altogether have only sold 15 million units. But it's not say a specific time frame for comparison. Exactly, like is like by the December 2020, or like it's at the very beginning of maybe around June or something like that, June or July. We don't really know, and it's kind of hard to really for say sure what that true number is, because we don't have the true evidence. We don't have any evidence to back it up. I'm saying it right now. Maybe it probably did because of just how well Demon Slayer blew up over here, blew up around the world, while comic books have been in the decline for years. I mean, it's evidence of just how many people I'm seeing like officially talk about comic books, and talk about it in the negative light, not in the positive one. There's not been a lot of positive comic books coming out, so it's kind of what it is. It's important to content utilize where these numbers came from the beginning with. Matrix cites Otaku USA, which in turn cites American News Network. The ANN article in question is about Demon Slayer sales in Japan for October 19 to 25 week in 2020, according to Arcon. Though not part of the headline, the article says that the series has 100 million copies in circulation, which includes digital copies, which Arcon does not count. Not sales, as its 22nd volumes released on October 2nd. Now, means in copies, but not the exact number. So in circulation, which they don't count, that means sold. Like, no, including digital copies. Digital copies means the fact that like people bought an additional, like there's like Viz Media, there's like the Shonen Jump app, like those count as visual copies, or as digital copies as circulation. They're around somewhere. That's a digital copy. Thing that means is probably did outsell, probably because people just keep on buying and then rebuying sometimes series. So neither ANN nor Otaku USA reported in comic book sales. The video version of Matrix article indicates that his source for the 15 million is a Shinkaku Complex article, which cites comic book blogs, the beats and analysis of the NPD book scan data for 2019. It should be noted that the analysis is restricted only to the top 750 titles, so the 715 million figure applies only to that section. It should also be noted that BookScan only represents a selection of retailers and is not representative for the entire market. That said, even the 15 million figure from the Beat limited scoop is a lower amount than Oricon's reported sales figure for Demon Slayer in 2019, which is 12 million. The figure is also disputed publisher Shueisha reported that the manga sold 10.8 million volumes this year. So Demon Slayer clearly didn't outsell the American comic book industry in the span time by conflicting Demon Slayer's lifetime circulation numbers with yearly sales and stacking them against the positive numbers of American mangas for 2019. The numbers for a misleading picture. Now, so if we shift to 2020, it's more complicated. It's complicated because now it looks like it sold 82 million instead of 8.2. 8.2, which, whatever. According to its more complex number, estimated sales figures for the American comic industries aren't out yet. But it's hard to ignore the Metroscope scale of Demon Slayer in that year. According to Oricon, Demon Slayer alone sold 82 million copies in order to magnitude higher than its closest rival on the charts, the second, which is Kingdom, sold about 8.2 million. Due to these factors, 2020 has been a year where growth for the manga industry was on about 612.6 billion yen, which is about, around $6 billion, roughly about that in USD. Up 20% from the 498 billion in 2019. U.S. manga publishers such as Viz Media and Yen Press also know that they enjoy strong growth in 2020 even after the printing supply issues early in the year. And now again, it kind of goes more about this about the Demon Slayer. I'm not going to talk about this, but you can kind of read this article. I will leave this article down below if you want to read this whole thing. But we all know in 2019 that Demon Slayer didn't outsell it in 2019, but in 2020 it's a lot more difficult to really say because no one knows the true number of how many mangas were actually sold in 2020 for the comic book industry. But I believe that it probably didn't do as well as a lot of people probably say. But do as well as do I think Demon Slayer completely outsold all American comics? I don't think so, but it could be the case. Now I kind of want to go off in more comparison of manga to what we have now. Like, if you think about it, like, this is My Academia because this was the first series I think I have really ever blew up. I'm talking about My Academia, Demon Slayer, and Black Clover. Now, My Academia, I know, has this whole weird, thing about, like, it's not good, but sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's good, but it's bad sometimes. But, like, we can't deny that, like, the covers of these stories are great. The whole thing I really like about My Academia is the fact that, like, you can honestly look at the cover and say, yeah, I will read that. That looks good. I love the covers of this. Same thing for Demon Slayer. The Demon Slayer covers look great. They're colorful. They're bright. They're vibrant. So with Black Clover, Black Clover's covers are great. And colorful. They're all great. Versus what you get for what we have here in the West. This is the completely Wonder Woman 1984 comic book cover. You mean to tell me that people are going to go out there and read this? No, they're not going out there and read this. Because guess what? This looks like garbage. Hey, listen, shout out to the artist who made it, but listen, you might need to go back to art school, my dude, or girl. I don't know. I don't want to be rude or anything, but you get my point. Like, this doesn't look good. Hey, listen, I understand that there's different artistic takes, but this is not what people want to see when they are reading their own type of version of comic books. They want to read a good comic book with a good cover, a nice, strong, good cover. But then you get this. Like, there's a slap in the face to everyone who really loves comic books. Now we'll go over here to the newest one of New Warriors, of Safe Space and Snowflake, and I forgot what the other ones are because they're that forgettable. I honestly don't. I remember having these fucking characters because the characters are pretty bad. Is someone like B negative? Oh yeah, the vampire's being negative, or is he B positive? Oh, whatever. Who cares? But they trying to come up with these characters and a complete bomb in their face. That's the reason why I think a lot of people are saying, like, listen, you are the main reason. Listen, the people behind this are trying to make young adult novels. You can make a young adult novel, but when you're like a 30 to 40-year-old person who has no idea anymore what youth's like nowadays, versus what manga does and does it at a very high success rate, you understand that this is the main difference in why people are not saying, I don't want to buy a comic book. Comic books, man. Even the panels are disgusting. Look at this. This was an official licensed, like, Marvel comic. Look at this. You mean to tell me that this is one? Look at this one. What is this? Dude, Captain Marvel, man, they done Captain Marvel dirty. Versus, I just want to look at a page. I'm gonna pull up a page. Look at this. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. Look at the quality. Every single panel, every single page in a manga is so damn detailed. Every single one is so damn detailed. Versus, this is what we get. This is what we get. This is what we get. And this is why I think comic books are gonna be completely gone. I think by the year. I can't say by a year, but I say they will be gone soon. I just don't think they're gonna last long. They can't last long based on how badly they have done. They've done terrible. They have not shown you that, like, oh yeah, we're gonna be a very successful market, because they have no proof they have a very successful market. Man, comic books are in danger. Manga, okay, kids, and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a really damn good job. Well, anyway, that's all you guys for today. As always, tell me, do you guys think that the manga actually did completely outsell the United States comic book industry? Honestly, I think it could be, possibly, maybe. I'm not saying that it is, but it might have. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments below. Remember to leave a like and subscribe down to the channel below. And as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.